Yeah.
Roll time. If you're ready and you know it and you're ready to get rolling, shout. Roll time, roll time, roll time. If you feel the vibe flowing and you just can't hold it, let it go up
Yo,
on the
yo,
roll
yo,
time.
what's
Take
up?
time,
What's up?
let
What's
go, make it
good?
roll
What's
right.
good?
Live wide, big
You
shot,
are
baby,
now
what's up?
live,
White lights on
but
me.
not live with the King and I Life podcast.
You know
I
what it
am
is.
your host, Son Soul Lex, and this is my co-host.
Soul Touch of the Poet is in the house, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we actually got a topic tonight that we're gonna be sharing with you guys where this one just randomly popped up on us today.
Yeah, pretty much.
But we're gonna run it anyway. And the topic is, if you were married, live in your own home while your mate lived in their own home.
But before we get into that,
Yes, sir.
welcome back to the King and I Life podcast. You can find us on whatever podcast platform that you prefer. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Still working on that Patreon. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And as Son Solex loves to say, you can hit us up by email at, go ahead and run it through.
Yes, sir. You can hit us up at the King and I 369 at gmail.com. Again, that is KINGANDEYE 369 at gmail.com. Make sure y'all hit us up, man. We've been getting a lot of positive feedbacks, so let's just keep it going.
Yes, and got to give a big shout out to our last last guest, Miss Breezy.
For sure, Breezy.
Definitely a dope interview. We appreciate her coming through. The audience loved her. Look forward to her coming back. As a matter of fact, we look forward to all of our interviewees coming back. Definitely enjoy talking to them and getting to know them and all that good stuff. Definitely a big shout out to Karki Mims. Gave me my other nickname Tablet. So, shouts out to him as well. Shout out to Dr. King. He definitely came and gave us a great interview. Sweat RT, shout out to him. Continually doing good stuff. I think he has some new music out. Got to double check on that. Also, Summer and, when she was coming to talking about inequality in housing. So shout out to all of them. But this topic that we're gonna get into, we just while we was prepping, Son Solex asked me the question and it made me laugh. But we're gonna talk about that and then whatever pops up. So let's go ahead and get into this, man.
All right, for sure. So again, the question is, if you were to get married or if you're married, would you be okay having your own suitable residence while your mate have their own suitable residence? What say ye, King?
Me personally, nah. That's a recipe for destruction, in my opinion. For those who can do it and do it effectively and it not cause an uproar in their household, shout out to them. But I look at it like this. It depends on the circumstances, first and foremost. If it's one of those things where you two have a home that is, home, most of the time, and then you have a work home, maybe. But I can't see us having our own individual dwellings. I don't see the cohesion. I don't see the relationship building. I don't see the foundation building. And then throw into that, what if you have kids? What type of message are you sending to your kids? What type of relationship guidance are you giving them in that type of situation? People often talk about, how two-parent homes are better and stuff like that. Now, technically you have a 2-parent home in how we're having this discussion. But, when the kid looks at it, the children look at it, they're looking at it, either mommy's here and daddy's there, what's going on. So you have to be able to effectively explain that dynamic to your children, and also take into consideration what they are going to lack in that type of environment. That's my first thought on it.
Me personally, I could do it. I could totally do it, and I won't have any problems with it. Only because I've seen the dynamic of it and how it works. As I was telling you earlier, I have a relative who lived that kind of life where, he had multiple homes, but he had one home in particular that he and his wife lived in. He had another home where, he was the only resident there. And the other home he basically used as a rental home. But most of his time was spent, in his family home with his wife. But, there are a lot of days where he would spend time, in his other home. And him and his wife, they didn't have any quarrels or bits and squares about it. As far as him actually keeping that home, because he acquired that home before they got married. He only acquired a second home that he, purchased for him and her to live in after he had his first home. But anyway, just looking at the dynamic of their relationship, it was one where it was a loving relationship. I can't say I was there 24/7 to witness any disagreements or arguments, but again, they just made it work, and both of them seemed happy because I guess for them, it wasn't about, necessarily, I got to be around you 24/7. It was like, you come through when you come through, and we live our lives accordingly. So I could totally dig it, man. I could live that life for real.
Well, before we even get further into the conversation, give the people why this even came up.
Okay, the reason this came up was I was listening to a particular person on YouTube, and they were talking about Carrie Hilson and her thoughts as far as marriage. I won't give you the background on her relationship because look it up. But anyway, she was saying, if she wanted to get married again, or she got married again, she wouldn't mind if she stayed in her own home and her mate stayed in his own home, and they could just run it like that because she basically enjoyed, having her own space to a certain degree. So anyway, by hearing that conversation, it popped in my head. It made me think about my relative and the situation that he had. So I posed the question to Soul Toucher, and that's how we're here now.
Yeah. Again, you might as well, in my opinion, this is my opinion. You might as well not be married if that's what you're going to do. Now, granted, you can have this conversation after marriage, and depending on what the circumstances is, or even before the marriage, what the circumstances are going to be. But I don't know the whole conversation or Carrie Hilton's whole entire thoughts on it, what brought her to this decision or whatever the case may be. But for me, and in my relationship experience, I don't know any woman, or even women that are just people I know in general. I don't know any people who are okay with going into a relationship, marriage, or whatever, with knowing that they're going to live in two separate places. Most people that I know of talked to or even dealt with would probably look at you like you crazy. Because again, well, let me back up. Because if we're going off of what Carrie Hilson's conversation was, again, not knowing, I don't know exactly what she said. I'm just going off of what you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
To say the next time I get married, I'm okay with us living in separate places because I enjoy my own space. That to me says, why get married? Just date. Just be in a relationship with this person. You live in your place, that person lives in their place. When y'all see each other, y'all see each other. But why go through the whole marriage ceremony, this, that, and the other, and then live in separate places? It just makes no sense to me. Like, and then the other thing I'm gonna look at, especially with her being an entertainer, how far are you gonna live from each other? When you go on tour and do your shows and this, that, and the other, you're not going to be around. So as an entertainer, how much time in space away from your husband do you need? Like, why do you need that much space from your husband, especially if you're an entertainer? Also, especially if you have to travel for work. What is the point in living in two different households if you have to travel for work? You already gone 3, 4, 5 days out of the week. Then when you finish working for the week, you gonna come over my house for the weekend, or I'm gonna go to your house for the weekend, or you might be too goddamn tired and don't want to see me, and you might not see me for a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I'm looking at it from that point. And again, if you have kids in this situation, okay, you've been gone off 2, 3, 4 days. Your work week is your work week. Now I have to pack up the kids to come see you, or well, if the kids with you, you have to pack up the kids to come see me. Then you also have to factor in, okay, now we have to do all these other logistical things to accommodate the kids. And it's like, okay, well, babe, I'm gonna stay at my house for the weekend because I'm just tired, whatever the case may be. Now, spouse on the other side, well, I got such and such and such to do, and you don't want to be bothered. Now I have to find somebody else to watch our kids because you want to be in your house, you don't want to be bothered. So I'm just looking at those dynamics of it.
I mean, again, the thing that I think a lot of people, when it comes down to marriage, they like the traditional marriage of we both live in the same house, and I think that nowadays some traditions, they're just that, they're just traditions. And again, to each their own, nothing wrong with that. But again, I'm saying that I would be open to it simply because I feel like if you love somebody, you love somebody. You don't necessarily have to be stuck up underneath them or be with them 24/7. And I'll give you a prime example of this is I know one couple sitting here thinking about it where they're married, have been married for several years now, and they live in two different countries.
I'm not doing that shit.
Live in two different countries. They, fly back and forth and they make it work.
Hell no.
But the thing about it is they both have careers that they enjoy, where they both make damn good money at what they do. They've become accustomed to the lifestyle that they lead as far as like, their workflow and, the time that they have where they're off. But they've been married for several years. And again, just looking at it from the outside, everything's going well. They're making it work. It's kind of like being married to someone in the military because they're gone a lot. You and I both know that they're gone a lot, but when they are home, they're home. So,
yeah, I'm I'm strongly not doing that. You know, you mentioned tradition.
Right.
When I think about tradition in marriage, I think about the whole big wedding, you know, all those intricate things that go into the wedding part. But when I look at marriage after that, um, how do you nail down tradition with that? It's like either you want to be with this person or you don't. You want to be around this person or you don't. Um, when you say being stuck up under this person 24 hours a day, um, if we want to use the term traditional marriage, who the hell is stuck up under their significant other 24 hours a day unless you have lost your goddamn mind? Like, you have your free time. I just don't think your free time in a marriage needs to be you have your own place and I have my own place. Now, let's look at a different part. You mentioned about this couple who were married and lived in different parts of the world. They had an income that could support that lifestyle. Cool. Got it. Whatever floats your boat. If that's how y'all want to live, that's how y'all want to live. But theoretically speaking, we know people who can afford those type of lifestyles. They have other lifestyles going on outside of their marriages. Now, if you want to take the average couple, let's just say the average couple in America, um, a lot of them cannot afford to maintain two separate households while they're married because of their income. Now, again, if you can afford that, why do you want that type of marriage? I'm not looking at it as tradition. I'm looking at it as, um, why are you living there and I'm living here? Um, if I want to roll over and get one off with my wife, or my wife want to roll over and get one off with me, we have to prearrange our entire life. I'm not doing that, and I'm not looking at that as tradition. I'm looking at that as, I'm married. If I want some, I'm going to need my wife to be right there. Because if she's not right there, what are my options? I have to get up in the middle of the night and go home to her house, or and let's just say the kids are with me. Then I got to think about the kids. Now, what if she roll over in the middle of the night? She has to come home to my house, and then what about the kids? It's too much of an inconvenience. Damn tradition, it's an inconvenience.
Uh, Again, I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, whatever makes you happy. So, if being with someone, again, under the same roof, where you guys are with each other, not necessarily 24/7, but day to day basis, then that's what makes you happy. But from a standpoint of, I'm looking at it from love, and I don't necessarily have to be with someone, underneath the same household or same roof 24/7, because, if you love me and I love you, not necessarily saying we got to sleep in the same dang bed every night. Um, you could say that you kind of have to arrange your intimacy, but um, when you're with someone, that don't mean necessarily mean that you're gonna have sex, or you're gonna have sex every night that you're with them. You, I mean, you and I both. Well, I'm married and you've been married, and you know how that goes. Where even though you're in the same bed with someone, that's not necessarily saying that you're gonna get some every time you want some. But um, I don't know. I'm just that type of person that I have that type of trust with someone, or connection with someone. If I say I love you like that, I'm good. just, if I trust you, I trust you. Some people don't necessarily have that type of trust. And again, not saying that, towards you or anything, but for me, I'm just that type of person.
See, I didn't even get to the trust part yet. That's a whole different animal for me.
Right.
To me, the trust part is a different aspect of the conversation, because that's a can of worms in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're married. I've been married and divorced 3 times. No, we didn't have sex every night that I wanted, every night that they wanted. That wasn't realistic. But then I can also say my second marriage was far from traditional. And in full transparency, my second marriage was pretty much like this conversation that we're having. I didn't live with my second wife. She had her own place. Me, I was staying with, my mother at the time, or my mother most of the time. So I saw her when I felt like seeing her, and it wasn't an agreed upon thing. That's what the hell I wanted to do, which was unfair to her, because we did not have that conversation. We got married, and I didn't move in with her. There was never a conversation really of us living together or anything like that. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do me. So literally. So that's why I'm saying, if you're going to be married and not live together, you might as well not be married. And mind you, we were married for 6 years. 1 year of that I spent a year and a half, I was, deployed. So I'm looking at it like this. If you're not living together, what is the point in being married? Because me, I was a goddamn Rolling Stone. I did whatever the fuck I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. When I wanted to see her, I went to see her. And she knew when I was ready to hit the streets. So again, I'm looking at it from that perspective. Now, if you've been married for a while and you get to that point, you really have to ask yourself, do I really love this person to the point where we can really sustain a marriage? Because again, if you have to live in a whole separate house, you are really going to have a whole separate life, period. Period.
I'm not saying that you won't. I think that it's kind of like, it goes back to the circle scenario that we had on a previous episode, where you have your main circle and then you have outside circles, meaning you have different way of life, I guess you can say, to a certain extent. When you're living in that type of relationship, and it's just me imagining that, again, from the perspective that I see, it's plausible. Because it's, when you're living in that type of situation, it's by choice. In most cases, it's strictly by choice. So if you both are on board with that choice, then I don't see why it can't be maintained. And again, no disrespect to a traditional marriage, but we're in a whole new different type of age now. I mean, there are so many different type of relationships now, where we have women with multiple men, and we have men with multiple women, so on and so forth. Same-sex marriages. I mean, the field is wide open, as they say. So to say that a relationship like that could not work, I I think I would be amiss if I said that.
I'm not saying that it can't work. I'm confident that it works. There are several people out there doing it, but how many people are doing well? That's not even a fair question to ask because that's too wide open of a question. I would let me put this as a statement. I don't
Mhm.
know how many people out there are doing that out of an explicit agreement where both parties are like, okay, let's do X, Y, and Z. You have a lot of situations to where um, one person in that relationship says, "This is what I want to do," and that other person just goes along with it. And it doesn't matter if it's the man or the woman who's making the decision, or the man or woman who's just going along with it. You have these situations to where also um, you have one high earner and the other one is on a power trip. I'm going to do this. You be here, blah, blah, blah. And this person, pushes back. And the other person says, well, you're going to have everything you need. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to take care of that. All you got to do is stay here. I'm going to get my house over here. So as much as this is possible, as much as this is happening, as much as people are agreeing upon it, you definitely have to dig down into the weeds and find how these situations are coming about. Um, and let's not even use the term traditional marriage. Let's just look at it as marriages where two people would prefer to live together under the same roof.
All right.
Because what the hell is a traditional marriage? Whatever was a traditional marriage for that matter. Um, I'm the type of person, if I get married and I'm married to the person that I truly want to be married to, whether it works out or not in the long run, if this is the person that I truly want to be married to and I'm happy to be married with, I want to be under the same roof with that person. Now, if, but, and then when you talk about a person who travels for work, then again, I definitely don't see a need for you to have two different residences, unless your work for travel is, let's just say your commute is 2-3 hours. I could understand you having a residence close to work where you at, during the work week, and then you go home on the weekend. I can understand that. Now, if your commute is hour and a half, 2 hours max because of traffic, I don't see a reason to have two different residences. It's either you take your ass home or you move your family closer to work. Now, if we're going back to where we started, because a person just wants their space, you don't need to be married if you're doing this because you want your space.
I would say there again to each individual. I think that some people they want the this sanctuary of marriage,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't necessarily have to have um, everything that comes with um, a relationship where you're both in the same household. Again, not 24/7, but at the end of the day, you're both living under the same roof. Again, with the type of work that I do, I'm gone, quite frequently. But I have a coworker where it takes 2 days for him to get home, and that's
Mm-hmm.
driving, in car or by car. So basically, his wife, she comes to see him um, like every 2 or 3 weeks, and she may spend a week or however many days, and then she goes back home. Um, they make it work. I mean, he's basically on the phone with her every day, and they carry on their marriage like that.